My brother recently played in the $100,000 Super High Roller Bowl PLO tournament at the Poker Go studio, and he ended up winning the tournament. You won. There was 38 players. It was the biggest buy-in ever for a Pot Limit Omaha tournament, and it pretty much had the best players in the world in the field. At the end of day one, my brother was the chip leader. He had about 1.5 million in chips. The total amount of chips in circulation, I think, was around 15 million to all the players. He had about 7 or 8% of that after day one being the chip leader. Negreanu was in there, Isaac Haxton was in there, Stephen Chidwick. A bunch of the top name poker players in the world were in this field. And my brother, he doesn't play that many tournaments. He's more of a cash game player, but when the World Series of Poker rolls around, he plays about 5 to 7 events, and during the year he plays another few events, usually PLO tournaments, but he'll also play all the other games during the World Series, Deuce to 7, Triple Draw, Raz, Stud, all these other games, but they usually don't have all those games during the year for big buy-ins, that many tournaments. So after day one, he's the chip leader. Day two, not much happened. He pretty much stayed around where he was. At the end of day two, to get to the final table, my brother eliminated the biggest name arguably in poker, Daniel Negreanu. My brother flopped top set, or maybe it was middle set. Negreanu flopped bottom set. Negreanu put my brother all in. He didn't have that much of a stack at that point. I think it was like 250,000 more. He went all in. My brother, of course, makes the call. It was a dry rainbow board. And my brother won that hand, eliminating Daniel Negreanu and pretty much setting the final table, which they made it a 7-handed final table. A lot of the times in PLO, it's usually a 6-handed final table, but I'm not sure why they made it 7-handed for this. So we head into day three. My brother was probably about third in chips out of the 7 remaining players. His friend Aaron Katz was also in there. You had Isaac Haxton at the final table. Stephen Chidwick was at the final table. A young kid named Kempton was at the final table, and a few other players. So we get to day three, which is the last day. They were gonna play until it was over that day. And I decided to go to the Poker Go studio myself at the beginning of the day just to check it out, make some content with my brother, see what's going on, and also cheer him on to hopefully win this thing. So at the beginning of the day, he made a video with Chino Ream, who was also at the final table, but he ended up eventually busting out in 7th kind of right away. They made a video opening some sports cards, which is what I do in my other business. They opened up some sports cards, posted that on Instagram, and then the day started play shortly after. It was a little bit tough for me to be there the whole time because I couldn't actually watch. They have a little bar right outside the play area in the Poker Go studio, which I was sitting at, but I couldn't actually see his cards. I couldn't see much. If you watch the Poker Go stream on YouTube or on Poker Go, they show you the whole cards, they show you the board, they show you pretty much everything. The only negative to that is it's on like a 30 to 45 minute delay, so you kind of have to be aware of that. I was watching it in real time, not seeing the cards, which honestly I didn't like it as much as going home and watching it on the delay because you see everything. So people start getting eliminated. There starts to be 7 left, 6 left, 5 left, 4 left, 3 left. We go right to 3 left. And the final 3 are Stephen Chidwick, Isaac Haxton, and Jared Bleznick, my brother. A lot of people would say those are 3 of the best Pot Limit Omaha players in the world, especially for tournaments. Haxton and Chidwick are more tournament players, less cash. My brother's more cash, less tournaments, but he's also phenomenal at the tournaments too. So we get down to 3 players left, and it's going back and forth, battling. The way Chidwick and Haxton play is completely different from my brother. If you watch the live, you could tell. Haxton and Chidwick, they don't want to make mistakes. They don't want to put money in the pot unless they have some kind of monster hand. And my brother knows this, and he's more of an aggressive type player where he'll bluff a lot, he'll make some bluffs, he'll play when he has it, he'll play when he doesn't. So it's harder to kind of know where he's at. So with 3 players left, it just kept going back and forth for hours. I ended up going back to the Poker Go studio when there was 3 left to watch the finale. The top prize is 1.3 million that they're playing for. I think second was like 820,000 and third was about 520. So the pay jumps here were actually super significant. And I think Haxton and Chidwick were kind of playing to chip up and ladder up and get second place or first based on the pay jumps. Obviously they're trying to win it. So there's 3 players left. It kept going back and forth. And honestly, it was kind of like they're playing for 1.3 million, but it was a little boring. The play style that Haxton and Chidwick play with, it's just make no mistakes, try to survive, try to advance. And my brother just doesn't play that way. He's completely the opposite. So it ends up going back and forth. And then Chidwick beats my brother in a few pots. And then eventually there was an all-in hand with Chidwick and my brother. My brother had him covered. And you can see the hand. He ends up beating him in that pot, eliminating Chidwick. And it gets down to heads-up play, Isaac Haxton versus my brother. It was about even in chips to start. The blinds kept growing and growing. The ante kept growing and growing. So they weren't that deep at this point. It goes back and forth a little bit, and Haxton ends up taking the chip lead in heads-up play. I think there was about 13 or 14 million total chips. Haxton had about 7 or 8. My brother had about 4 or 5. And then there was a monster all-in hand where my brother completely flipped the script. He doubled up and flipped the chip count. So my brother now had 8 million and Haxton had 4. And when my brother has a chip lead and heads up play Pot Limit Omaha, I'm gonna bet on him over anybody in the world. So he's now heads up. He now has the chip lead. He's a great heads up player. And eventually what ended up happening is my brother wore him down. He kept dwindling his chip stack. Haxton had about 2 million left. They go all in, and this is the last hand.
It's not going to happen. Haxton is all in.
There's the all in and the snap call from Bleznick.
Not much.
There's a 9.
Oh, and that's a huge card. Haxton now drawing to just a queen or an 8.
Only a queen or an 8 will save Ike Haxton. Otherwise, Jared Bleznick is your Super High Roller Bowl champion. It's the Ace of Diamonds.
Yep.
Jared Bleznick gets it done, and you can see the celebration there.
My brother wins the tournament. His reaction, honestly, he started crying a little bit. You could see in the video. And it was just unbelievable. This is the biggest tournament win my brother has ever had in his career. He's had some scores for 400,000, 500,000. And when he won those, he wasn't focused on the poker side of it. He was more focused on the sports card side of it and the business he loves more than anything. But when he won this tournament for 1.3 million, it was unbelievable because he started talking about truly, he felt this was the best feeling in the world that he's ever had, winning 1.3 million, getting to the top of the ladder on paper of a Pot Limit Omaha player.
Jared, you just won the inaugural Super High Roller Bowl Pot Limit Omaha event from the Poker Go studio at RE Resort and Casino. How are you feeling right now?
This is actually the greatest feeling of my entire life. You know, people have always told me I'm arguably the greatest PLO player ever. And I think the film today showed everyone out there that I actually can beat anyone in the world. And, you know, for years I've been saying we should have a 6-figure buy-in for Pot Limit Omaha. This was the first time I did it. We had 38 entrants. I believe with this whole tournament, it's going to keep growing. As a poker player growing up playing No Limit, I think Pot Limit Omaha is a better game, and I think it's going to continue to grow. And you just did such an amazing job running this tournament, and I think the experience here of playing it, I mean, I can honestly say this is the greatest feeling in my life.
Jared, on behalf of RE Resort and Casino and Poker Go, congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
A lot of people have considered him, and they do consider him the best or one of the best Pot Limit Omaha players, but now it's on paper. The biggest buy-in ever for a Pot Limit Omaha tournament, $100,000 won by my brother Jared Bleznick, aka Harrington 25. He took it down, and now it's known he is the best Pot Limit Omaha player in the world.